Welcome to a Chart Nerd technical analysis video. Today we will be discussing the likes of VELO on its monthly time frame. I will also zoom into the lower time frames a little bit today to see what's happening, but I really wanted to focus on something specific here on the macro. Now, before I start, nothing that I say is financial advice, guys. This is all for educational and entertainment purposes only, but this could be a very, very bullish signal leading into 2025. So let's dive into the content. Now, looking at VELO here on the monthly, we have two EMAs on, and if you've been following some of my content for quite a while, we discuss this yellow 20 EMA on the monthly here, and how recently, only in December, we had the wick up to this EMA for our first point of contact since our downtrend back in 2020. So that was a magnet really that I was looking for VELO to hit over the last sort of few months, and we've successfully managed to reach that target. Now you can see that we did have the pushback in December, and we came to 0.024, but VELO is now getting that push back up to the 20 and is trying to see another retest so far in January anyways. But I think the reason we're sort of getting this push up here and this momentum is because the 10 EMA, which I actually put on this chart for the first time, I'm quite surprised because I do use the 10 quite a lot as well, but putting it onto the monthly chart for VELO, I realized that one, there was more data on this EMA, albeit consider this a lower EMA than the 20 or the 55. It does have more data, and we can see that back here from June of 2021 and September, we hit our heads on this EMA, and we can only assume if there was previous data that this EMA probably was the key level of resistance for the all-time high. So since 2020, for a very long time, this 10 EMA was acting as a very strong level of resistance. So it's quite a handy EMA to get on the chart here for the macro. Now, if this EMA, what I think's happening here with this 10 EMA is we've been hovering above it for the past 6 to 7 months, just consolidating above it, right? And this was when we was in our macro sort of 7-month triangle that we've been analyzing, and we've been consolidating for 6 to 7 months, and we finally got the breakout, which has led to that 20 EMA retest for the first time in a good few years. So all very, very good signs right now, but I think this 10 EMA is what's driving us up to this 20. So we're sort of getting a squeeze here, and we're caught between these EMAs, and I think that if we do manage to form this bullish cross where this 10 keeps creeping us up and eventually the 20 has to drag up with it, I think this is a very, very bullish signal, and what this could cause is extreme momentum to the upside amongst the formation of this cross. So again, when we do get these crosses and bearish crosses, we could have even potentially had, if we had the 20 EMA back here in the past and this 10 EMA, again, if you can only, it's a rough idea, guys, right? But if we had a def cross in the past and this def cross caused a 2-year downtrend where we had a massive gap between these EMAs. So if you look at the EMAs here, there was a massive gap between the blue and the yellow, and the price was really overextended to the downside. So what's happened is when you get these massive gaps in the EMAs, they tend to get filled back in. So since this 2022 low, this is where we had the formation of our Adam and Eve bottom, right? We had the monthly Adam and Eve bottom that we've been sort of analyzing for a very long time, just rough drawings, but we've broken out of that, right? And we held the previous level of resistance as support throughout September and August. Now, whilst doing that, we did have the consolidation on the 10 EMA also with higher lows, which has pushed us up to this 20. So we're getting really tight here, guys, and it's all leading into the apex and to the expectation of a crazy alt season. So we're in the right place at the right time. And I think, again, this is just giving a little bit more confluence to a potential explosion here for VELO once it decides to break through this EMA. So again, we had the retest on the 20 before, and we're sort of getting the push up here from the 10 that's creeping up, and we're trying to get this tight squeeze and explosive break out of it. And this again will be the first macro bullish cross for VELO on the monthly time frame. So we don't have the 55 EMA for data, but we do have the monthly 10 and 20. So the first cross here, if this does form, again will be another first time in its history and could lead to the explosive breakout towards 38 cents, which is our 0786 target on the retracement from the the all-time low back to the all-time high on our fibs. Again, if you've been following along with some of my videos. So for us to get to those targets and those explosive targets, 11 cents and beyond, which is our Adam and Eve bottom target, we do need something like this to sort of help with the momentum and getting us out of the woods here. You know, a tight squeeze leading into this year and followed by an explosive break out of the woods. So this 10 and 20 EMA Bullcross, if that occurs for VELO, by the time it happens, I would expect us to be at much higher targets for VELO in the near future. So this is another bullish cross that we need to keep our eyes on here, and will be the one moving forward that I will be covering. Now, again, this could go either way, right? We've ran up to the 20 and we are getting this push up in January, but what if this push up is just leading into a level of resistance before coming back to the 10? Well, right now the 10 EMA on the monthly does still sit very closely to the previous highs that we were struggling to break out of from May until November. So you can see we was under this key level of resistance, and that 10 EMA sits very close to that previous resistance. Now, we have already in December had a retest to that resistance and the push up to 0.035. So we don't necessarily have to come back to it. But if we was to come back to a lower level of support, we have the 10 EMA on the monthly, which again, a macro EMA for support would be a very strong sign for me to look for continuation here. Now that roughly sits at 0.018. On the monthly time frame. But again, we're just, as you can see, we're now caught between the 10 and the 20 above previous resistance, holding it as support, looking for the break. So we're getting really tight here, and we are squeezing into an apex. We're getting compression. Now, compression normally leads to expansion, and especially because we've come in from an uptrend, I think this is looking for continuation here on the macro. But anyways, enough about this pattern here. I wanted to look back at our previous weekly bullish cross and just show you the sort of extent that could sort of happen here. So again, the weekly isn't as in some sense reliable as the monthly. The monthly is a much more zoomed out perspective. But we had the bullish cross on the 20 and 55 back in November on the weekly, which took us up roughly about 150%. So if that on the weekly time frame was a bullish cross that led to this move, imagine what it's going to be for the 10 and 20 bullish cross on the weekly. We had that bullish cross. Imagine what it's going to be for the 10 and 20 on the monthly. It's going to be quite an explosion. So if we do form that cross and do get this 10 EMA that's been holding for so many months to push us out of here, it will be a fantastic sign. And again, once we clear 0.035, I think this is where the real fireworks begin. Now, if we go into the daily and analyze this a little bit more here, what I'm going to do is get our EMAs off and just look at the channel. Sorry, that's the weekly. We're going to look at the potential triple top pattern that I've been analyzing. So I was previously monitoring a potential 1, 2, 3 peaks, and for it to be valid, we would have had to lose this 0.022 support. Now, VELO has come back right now over the past sort of week or so and found support on 0.024. So right now we do have higher lows from the previous low. But at the moment we have this lower high. So you can see again, we're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. Now, to make this simple and to avoid confusion here, I think what I'm going to be waiting for to either validate the breakout or the breakdown is a simple break and closes above 0.033. I think if we see multiple closes above this resistance range, which is very close to our sort of these candle closes. So even here, you can see the highest candle closes we've had for VELO in December were at 0.033. on the daily, and we've had wicks up to and other previous candles up to this resistance. So I think this is a very key resistance for VELO to reclaim. And then again, going to our lowest candle support, which we've had wicks to many times as well, you can see that these low candles here at 0.022 are key support. So just zooming out here, it just looks like we're in this consolidation sort of pattern. You know, we've had the 0.007 double bottom down here, led to the breakout. We then had an A, B, C correction, which gave us this higher low in November down to 0.011. And now we've had this explosive move up to 0.035. So again, when you do tend to get these moves up, you either wait for a consolidation pattern to confirm the uptrend or the breakout to a correction. And I think right now we're in a similar sort of position. So back here, everyone was indecisive. With VELO, I remember back in September, and we had these highs at 0.020. We came back down, we held support, and we had another run up, and it looked like we was going to get the breakout, but then we came back down to support and eventually lost it and put in a new higher low. So we do need to consider that we are in, I wouldn't say a similar situation, but we are in a sort of position where we've come up from an uptrend in this move, and now we're consolidating in a range waiting for a decision. So I'm not going to say that this triple top is valid yet and that we are going to break down to lower targets, but I'm not also going to say that we are going to break out just yet. So I think we all need to keep our eyes on Bitcoin for one as well and see what it does in the market. But I mean, for me, looking at the daily here, it's just all about breaking out of this key level of resistance at 0.033 and holding this support, which isn't even on point here, but again, you get my gist, roughly around 0.022. And once we get the breakout from this range, I think it will give the game away. So for me, what we want to wait for is the break of resistance and confirmation of it as support for continuation, or we want to wait for the loss of support to confirm and the hit on resistance on previous support for the breakdown. So we're literally just stuck in a range, guys, and to be honest, I think the safest bet right now is to wait for the breakout. So from Chart Nerd TA, I hope you've enjoyed the content. The macro, the monthly and the weekly, albeit considered we are going sideways, we're above key EMAs here on the weekly time frame, daily time frame, monthly time frame, you know, and even this 10 EMA here on the weekly. Sorry, I do apologize. I feel like I'm losing my voice a bit. Even the 10 EMA on the weekly, you can see for the past like sort of 3 to 4 weeks where we had that correction, the candle closed right above the 10 EMA, and again, it's pushing us up on the weekly. So do get these EMAs on your charts, guys, the 10 EMA, the 20 EMA, and if you can as well, get the 55, which could act as a macro level of support if we come back for a further correction. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the content, guys, from Chart Nerd TA. Take care. Peace out.